Yes, I mean, that's a great segue into the next section we want to talk about is this hope. You know, most politics right now is the other guy's a jerk. You know, he's lying to you. He's going to do this to you or that. So tell us how you're going to bring hope into this process. And if elected, how are you going to bring that into government?
Very good. Well, I like the concept of leading for the future. So envisioning the success that we know can be had. Right now, we're in a sort of a cyclical down where there's race riots and there's pandemic, and honestly, a lot of elderly people that were rebellious youth themselves 50, 60 years ago and are now facing the end of their lives. And COVID is terrifying, whereas to younger people, COVID is not really terrifying. You know, so in terms of hope, the people that are towards the end of their lives, they need, I wish for them to be content in their old age and to be hopeful for the United States to continue as a great country and to value itself. But in terms of the institutions of the United States, charities, churches, for example, but also universities and hospitals, and museums, and any other charity that you can think of, they perform an important role in the fabric of our community. And I don't really think the average American wants government to take over all those things. You know, I'm just wishing I could express it a little better. I get into this mode where I'm thinking about the fabric of our society and how there's different regions. So I represent I'm seeking to represent a congressional district here on the Central Coast, but towns in Nebraska and Texas have a similar thing going on. They have their monuments, and they have homeless people, and they have museums for art, schools. They have similar needs for these cultural bastions, these cultural mountains, if you will, that are similar. And then we've got individuals that live in those geography that are looking after those things. And I look at the United States as a decentralized network where we can all work together. All the congressmen from all over the country can come together and say, well, we need to do this and not do that, and focus our efforts. So when I think of leading for the future, I really want to I'm trying to avoid it, but jump to that fourth thing on my agenda, which is to talk about issues, to talk about the role of federalism and the limited role of government. And we all know that the saying, jack of all trades, sometimes people forget the next part, which is jack of all trades, master of none. The federal government really has a very unique mission. The state governments and the local governments can't perform. And that's national security against foreign enemies, and then providing a national judiciary which looks after domestic disputes, which can include domestic enemies. We all hope to live in a world without domestic enemies and, or honestly, foreign enemies. But the fact is, conflict happens, and that's where adjudication needs to come from. So those are the two big missions of the federal government: are defense and justice. And to get the government more and more into social justice, adjudicating minutia, it dilutes the core mission of the government, and it minimizes the inputs and values of our more local institutions. So that kind of blends together my hopes for the future and the way I look at issues. I want to look at issues and be able to look at a congressman from Nebraska or Texas or Utah or anywhere else, Massachusetts, and have them agree on the purpose of the national government and look at ways where they can sort of surrender their population's concerns to the local authorities and not try and take on the whole thing, because we're not getting it done right now, and we're ending up very confused. And that's where new leadership is needed. So.
You say that, it just brings up the story of Vince Lombardi. On the first day of practice, he would hold up, "This is a football." Just back to the basics, and this is just human nature, that we're going to do what we call mission drift. We were founded here, but as we get further and further, you know, down 10, 15 years, we're doing something completely different than what we said is our mission. So this is good that you're bringing that up. And even, when you go into the House of Representatives, is why are we here? And some people say, well, we're here to promote our agenda versus we're here to serve our people and to create an environment where they can go back to the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's why we're here. But that's so far away from most people. It's gonna be a while to do some course correction.
That's right. Most Christians get the idea that from faith you get virtue, and from virtue you secure freedom in the sense that you avoid the problems that will put you in shackles. You avoid being condemned by the judiciary or whatever. The cops arresting you for going too fast on the road. If you follow the rules, you have a lot of latitude for liberty and freedom. But what people I wrestle with, and I've been discovering lately, is the relationship between free will and faith. And that this is the fundamental problem with trying to solve societal ills with tax money, is that taxes are not charitable. Taxes are not given up. I mean, there are people that are happy to pay their taxes, and that's a very healthy and happy perspective to have. But generally speaking, taxes are not optional. People that are paying their taxes are doing so because they have to. And sometimes there is resentment, especially if they see their money misused, which is the House of Representatives has the power of the purse. That's where we should be looking to identify malfeasance at the federal level. And why do we have these budgets? Why can't we make our budget balance? They're just trying to do too much, and it's a tough lesson to learn. I mean, I'm casting about right now for the words to try and articulate how do we scale back the mission that's crept into every aspect of our lives of the federal government. How do we get it back in the box?
As you bring hope in, is us on the outside have seen really good people go into the House, and after being in that environment, they lost their mission. They become a cog in the wheel of big government. So we just pray for you that I keep hearing you say stand strong, stand strong. So we just pray that blessing over you. So